Welcome to another compilation of short videos that I've put together for those who want to avoid the likes of YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok and such. You shouldn't miss out just because you're disciplined. So here's 10 more short videos that I think you'd appreciate. Let's roll them. In my experience, if you lose a position, your best chance to get it back may be immediately afterwards, though it's risky. I say this because if I make an overtake, I usually spend a few seconds being smug about it to myself before I lock back in, so I can be caught unaware by a rapid response. On this occasion, I'm the one reclaiming a spot. This Ferrari successfully nabs my place with a move on the inside on lap 1 and shakes off any overlap from me. But as we head towards this fast right-hander up the hill, I leave my car positioned on the inside. This sets up a specific moment in time where any of three things will happen next, depending on how the Ferrari reacts to it. Either he'll brake early, back out and leave room on the inside for fear of a lunge, or he'll brake slightly later and drive deep into the corner just to get ahead, or it'll be something in between. Turns out it was something kind of in between. He drives deep into the corner to stay ahead, but that puts him slightly offline for this double apex corner. Somehow I get a better drive and get to the inside as we brake into the slow second gear corner, followed by another second gear corner, but this time I'm on the outside. I managed to get a really good drive out from the corner and get ahead finally, putting a lid on the overtake, and I keep that place until the end of the race. Clearly my tyres were just working better on lap 1 than the Ferrari's, so if I didn't get that spot back immediately while that was the case, then I may not have managed it at all. So if you get pounced, be ready to pounce right back, waste no time. The blue and white Porsche had defended perfectly, leading to one of the most hard fought overtakes ever. Just watch and you'll agree he knows racecraft. On my first attempt, he covered the inside line for the upcoming chicane and flung it in, offering me no realistic chance to make it too wide. Attempt number 2 was defended by covering the inside once again, forcing me to switch off the line and hope for a better exit, but it wasn't happening. He stuck the landing. Attempt number 3, do a little weave to the inside to try and distract and disrupt. He reacts and stays inside, but once again he drives perfectly to get a good run out. Attempt number 4, try to waft over to the inside line. Once again he covers it, and once again I return to the outside and hope for a better run out of the corner, but once again it's not happening. He nails it. Attempt number 5, he gets squirmy through this turn. Maybe there's a chance for me here. I draw alongside, but he has the inside for the next one and yet again accurately holds it. The outside is just not working for me there. Attempt number 6, bait him into a steep entry on the inside once again and throw my car around the outside. Still not happening as I don't have a traction. Attempt number 7, at this point I'm just hoping he gets dizzy, watching me swoop around and alongside and makes a mistake through exhaustion, but nope, perfectly held. Attempt number 8, another race down the straight, but I know he's confident into the chicane, no can do. Attempt number 9, this time I'm trying to intimidate him into moving off the inside line by tailgating him, just doing anything weird to somehow put him off, but he doesn't fall for it and holds the line. Attempt number 10, force him to cover the inside, throw the car around the outside and hope for the best, but this time I get great traction and speed out of it. I slide over to the inside line and he matches it, but I've had enough, he's had enough. There's still room for me on a strip of the track he's left spare. I just mow through with 2 wheels on the grass, and with that one opening I am finally through. It took about 3 or 4 laps of trying and failing to overtake this car until I realised I was being dumb. What I needed was to get a really good run out of the tight hairpin at Long Beach, and following him closely through it, using basically the same line he was not working, obviously. So on the 5th lap, I decided to try a very late apex. This is when you delay your turn in and turn in very sharply when you do, which gives you as straight a line out as possible, so you can accelerate as hard as possible. This worked really well and it brought me right up to the back of a defending car for the high speed section that follows, giving me momentum. This was my first real chance and I didn't want to waste it. I swooped out from behind under braking and got 1 foot in the door on the inside. They left me space and I just squeezed through. This goes to show that knowing the theory is all well and good, but you do still have to have the presence of mind to actually act on it, and I wasted a good few laps driving like a zombie and not using what I know. Don't assume that traction control is just an assist for low skilled drivers. It can actually make you faster if used consciously. At Red Bull Ring, turn 2, there's a really tight and twisty corner that is especially tricky for traction, especially for front engine cars like the Mercedes, but the rest of the circuit is fairly fast and flowing. I found that by using a tighter traction control setting for turn 2, but switching it back to a looser setting afterwards, I could consistently nail turn 2 better than everyone else, but I would still have the advantages of a looser traction control setting for the fast swooping corners that came before and after. I had the best of both worlds, and it allowed me to confidently line up outside overtakes again and again, and if I didn't modify the traction control, turn 2 would be super tricky, super inconsistent. By switching the traction control setting every lap just for that one corner, I undoubtedly drove a better race than if I just set it and forget it. It's not always worthwhile changing settings actively like this in a race, but it definitely was this time. These two look like they're about to head into Zolder's first chicane, door to door. That's like fitting two people through one doorway, so I expect things to go badly for them. I get ready for this by making sure I back off from them a bit. I don't want to be as close as possible here. I actually want to put more space between me and these two so that I have some runway in front of me so I can exit the next chicane at best speed. If I don't leave enough space here, I could catch up to them in the middle of a chicane instead of after it. As you can see, that turned out to be the right move and luckily perfectly judged, but only just. Those two cars rattled together, and even the car that came off better was severely slowed, but even if both cars had made it out the other side, they'd have both been crawling out at slow speed. The reason I show stuff like this is not to show off, but to show you, so that when a rare gift like this is given to you, you'll know exactly what to do. Experience is nothing more than having a plan for every scenario. Now I enjoyed this a lot. Now I don't know about you, but the overtakes that I enjoy the most are the ones where I have to annoy, harass and distract and just break them down corner after corner until I can finally find the moment to conclusively pounce and take the place. So you're about to see this. I'm chasing down second place, I've caught up to him, and now it's just a case of piling the pressure on, just trying to slice off pieces of his concentration and focus until I can find that opening. Now you saw me hang on to the side of a track there as we ran down to the chicane just to try and be a distraction. I'm going to try and do the same thing again here, hang on the inside but not commit to any lunges or anything like that, just trying to move around a bit and give him something to think about while he's trying to pick his braking points and turning points and just try and instigate a mistake of some kind really close to the back of him at the final corner, heading down to the start finish straight again. So this is the lap where I really want to make the move. I'm starting to sense a little bit of blood in the water as we head down to turn 1, swinging the car in, just trying to hope for any signs of weakness, and there we've got one. Tyres on the dirt and tyres on the grass. He's starting to lose his way just a little bit, trying to overextend and trying to keep ahead of me at any cost. Now he's putting tyres off track and acting a little bit scrappy. This is perfect for me. I get really closer to him on the old hairpin, running up to the hill towards one of my favourite corners on the track, turn 7, or McLean's as it's known locally. It's always been a really strong corner for me all race long, so I'm hoping to eat another tenth or two out of him. So close to the rear. Another little weave just to try and beat a distraction in the mirrors on this difficult blind turn, but he gets better traction out of the corner than I do, just enough to keep me at bay. That mid-engine Ferrari does have better ability to put power down, but that advantage is going to turn around and come back to me now as we head through the chicane. I get another tenth or two back on him, and now I'm really close to him and I have a slight run, so maybe I'm going to think about a move on the inside, but he brakes later than he usually does. He's gone a little bit deep, and that opens the door for me to get my nose in and actually have an overlap. Now my spotter is actually telling me I am slightly alongside. We run down to the final corner and he has to hold the middle of the road. This is surely going to upset him a little bit for his exit to the straight. I get the mother of all traction out of the corner, right in his tailgate now. He seems to hold the middle of the road, a little bit defensive, but he's left the gap on the inside. If I act natural, I can pounce into that gap and take that place from him, and it all works out so beautifully. Definitely one of the more enjoyable fights in recent times. This overtake took me by surprise and I was the one blooming doing it. Right, so it's lap 1 and I'm about to pull off the coolest overtake I have ever and may ever do. I was crisper than a crisp sandwich here. The Porsche head is the target and I'm basically tickling his tailpipe through turns 3, 4, 5 and 6. Exiting turn 6, I wonder if I can push hard around the outside and assert myself ahead, but he stays too wide through 7, holds his ground through 8 as well, and at this point I decide to wind my neck back in and follow. I do lose a tenth or two because of all of that, but my intent is now clear to him. I'm not just going to follow, he needs to watch out. Bowling down to turn 11, he seems to deflect into a tighter line, just as I think about doing the same. I lunge alongside him on the outside, almost by accident, but somehow it works out. I'm now extremely close. I have a little toe's worth of overlap now as we run down the huge straight. At the end of this long high-speed stretch of track is a left-handed hairpin. This will be my best chance to overtake, and I have a plan. And my heart is pounding here as I wait for the exact moment to move. I sweep across quickly to the inside, drive deep on the brakes, claim the inside line before they ever had a chance to react, and snatch that place. It's only February and I already have my jammiest overtake of the year. If I'd have been a mere tenth of a second later with this move, I'd have absolutely clobbered this guy and looked like the biggest idiot ever. This is one of the most important overtaking moves to learn in sim racing because you will use this general tactic a lot. The orange car is overtaking me in the red. They're close behind on the long straight at Road America. Seeing that he's close enough to get alongside, I move over to protect the inside line for the next corner. I don't want to just give them the inside line for this one. Seeing this, the overtaker draws alongside, but he remains in the middle of the track. This keeps me bottled up on the inside unless I try and shuffle him over, which can be risky. Just before we hit the brakes, the overtaker moves back over to the far outside, to the optimal normal racing line. I meanwhile am left out over on the far inside of the track. The next turn is now going to be much easier for him than it is for me, and we both know it. I brake as late as I can to keep hold of the apex and maybe deter him from following through his overtake. There's been many times where this has been enough to hold someone behind, but my opponent knew what to do. What he's aiming to do is cut back underneath me on the inside because he knows that the line I'm taking, at the speed I'm taking it, is going to put me on the outside of the next corner no matter what I do, and probably going slower than usual as well. His plan unfolds perfectly, and now he has the inside for the next turn with a speed advantage, and as we go side by side through it, he gets the tiniest advantage and momentum does the rest. This cutback overtake relies on making corners harder for your opponent in order to set up the actual overtake for what comes after. It's one of the finest techniques you can use, and he demonstrated it cleanly. Well, it finally happened. A race that went so badly it had me questioning my entire life. First up was this copycat spin on lap 5. I thought the Porsche looked cool sideways, so I thought I'd try it too. Then I thought I'd try going through these corners blindfolded, because with the spray it might as well have been. Then I saw the tyre barriers on the side of the track and wondered if they were as comfy as they looked. Then I picked up an additional 40-second penalty for crossing the tiniest bit of a white line on pit entry. Bit harsh. Then I wondered if there was anything worth seeing in the middle of a track. Turns out, not a lot. Then I saw what I could swear was a red-crested woodpecker in the woods over there, but it wasn't. Never mind. With such bad driving, I earned myself a drive-through penalty just to top things off. Hi Dave. Then a car came out of the pits which befuddled me so much I forgot how little grip there was on the left side of a track here. A fellow Mustang sufferer span off in front of me and I only had 5 seconds of pity for him before it was replaced with self-pity. And finally, I put the cherry on top with a spin at the same place where I left my brain on lap 5. With that, I was waved the Goth Scotland flag and disqualified. One to forget. Something needs to be done about the cost of sim racing. For example, it cost me a whole tenner to pay this guy to push me so I could complete the pass on the Lamborghini. Bribing your grid mates used to be a couple of quid, so the cost is just spiralling. Cheers for watching, and I hope it was enjoyable. Keep an eye out for another bundle in a month or so. Cheers again.